everybody, welcome back to the Average Employee Podcast. I'm your host, Al, and it's time to clock in. I think you guys can kind of guess it already. We're the boys. Well, still everyone's busy at the end of the day. But today we have the homie that I've known for a good amount of time, Mr. B. What's good, man?
Hey, how are you, brother?
He's a real person. You want to wave your hand just in front of the camera, just so that yep, he's a real person. Just out of respect for his privacy, their privacy. You know, I don't want to give too much information away. We're just masking his face or just not showing it at all. But there is a real person. I'm not just in a room talking about myself. Okay, so let's get started. Mr. B, or informally B.
Thank you.
Who are you? How do we know each other?
Wow, that is the question. How do I know you? Well, I can honestly say I've known you for a long time. You've been a big influence on me in my career. I can honestly say that.
Ooh.
Appreciate you for that. Help me bring me out my shell a little bit. But yeah, I am.
You can just say whatever. It doesn't have to be like super specific. I'm from the northeast hemisphere.
Right.
Just whatever you want to. Like, if someone were to watch this, what would you want them to know about you? Let's keep it simpler. Let's do 3 fun facts. It's like our first day at work.
Oh my goodness. 3 fun facts. Let's see here. I collect vinyl.
Sick.
That is a fact that I'm pretty happy with. I'm a big fan of technology.
Okay.
Love my technology, and I'm a big family man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I always like it when you bring up and talk about your family. I won't bring it up here, but I have never heard or met someone that is so passionate on like what's up with their family. Because like there's a lot of people that will talk about their family in like a boastful way, like, oh, my son won the Nobel Peace Prize, and you're just like, dude, my son's be killing it in this whatever it is. And then it's very heartwarming because you don't hear that too often without people trying to get something out of it. And yeah, that's nice to hear.
Thanks, man. No, my family's good people for sure. I wouldn't be me. You know how it is. Like,
Wouldn't be you without them.
Nope. I'm very happy with that. I'm very proud of that, and I hope everyone has that in their life, truthfully, because there's a benefit.
I hope one of these days I can like officially meet them, because it's always like word of mouth. But we can save that for another episode. Okay, so since bringing you on the Average Employee Podcast, we always want to talk about like stuff that people don't really realize about retail workers, right? So the question that I have for you, and then a lot of people that I bring on to the show, is how long have you been working retail?
Well, if you count retail as far as just like even say sales in different ways, I would say 24 years plus maybe.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's definitely a minute for sure.
Almost an hour at that point.
Yeah.
But so with you working retail for that amount of time, like the concept of retail has changed a lot. It's kind of worked its way from just getting a product into someone's hands into maybe focusing more on the user experience. Would you feel that I would have summed that up correctly?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's everyone's intention, right? Like they want to make sure that whatever it is they're providing has a big impact on whomever's acquiring it, for sure. Yeah.
What made you want to stay in retail?
I get asked that a lot, and that's actually
It's a very loaded question.
Well, it is, and that's actually one of the reasons I agreed to come and hang out with you today. Is I actually wanted to talk through that because I have a love-hate relationship with it, for sure, right? People will say things like, it's get a real job, or, I've had people very close to me ask, like, when are you getting a real job, after knowing exactly how long I've been doing what I do? And I like it because I feel deep down everybody sells and works for somebody, right? One way or another, you're providing a service, you're doing a job, whether it be a large project, you're making glossy ads, whatever it is, right? You ultimately work for someone, and you have deadlines and you have these stressful things, right? I have the benefit of having just many projects that I get to literally see completed right in front of me, right? Whatever the task is I'm doing for whatever job it is, I get to see it literally right there. It's done. It's beautiful. Put a bow on it, and everyone goes on their way. And then, like, at the end of the day, I'm just done, right? I've had the other jobs where it's like, okay, you know, you got that, and that's where I include in the 20 years. I've had the other jobs where it's like the
work never ends.
Yeah, you know, you'll get that call at, 4 a.m. because of X, Y, and Z happening. Now all of a sudden you have to leap into action because you're wearing that certain hat, like, and there's that's cool. So if you have that passion, by all means, oh my goodness, I'm not saying don't. Like, if you have that passion, I encourage you to chase it, right? Like, own it. But there is something to being able to have that completeness and going, okay, you know what, that job is done. It is what it is. Now, regrettably, that's not always where the funds are, right? And like, so, and that's always the rub. So that's why it's kind of like implied that it's like a in-between thing. And you can tell when you go out into the world and you're around people who have worked in some kind of service industry, right? You can tell, like, even when you're at a restaurant, you might look over and you can tell when people start organizing their dishes, because you could tell they've been in that scenario, as opposed to someone who's like, to heck with it, I'm just going to leave my French fries on the floor or whatever it is.
That's
right?
fucked up. Who's putting French fries on the floor?
I'm just saying, like, accidents happen, right? But like, I myself, I've been in situations where I've taken a paper towel and I've actually picked up other paper towels off the floor and put them into the trash. Like, it doesn't bother me to do so,
because you're a good person.
But that's the point, right? Like, typically those types of things surface when you have, like, let's say siblings, or you do work in a service industry, because it does put you in that service of others, as opposed to like being an only child, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes like those lessons aren't easily learned.
Hold on. Anyway, you were saying? Okay. I think it's really tough for someone to accept that, like, when someone says get a real job, just because at the end of the day, like, we all understand that, maybe working at Dairy Queen isn't gonna pay for your third child's college tuition or whatever. But I think what people forget, what we get from retail, is the skills that some corporate employees don't have. Because, like, yeah, you may manage multi-million-dollar accounts, but you forget how to talk to people. You forget how to look out for your cohort or your team members, or you forget how to just be, for lack of better terms, not a piece of shit, and not just always trying to get something out of someone.
Well, I think it's up to the person to want to seek out well-roundedness, right? Like, you have an idea.
That was a way nicer way to say it.
Well, I do my best, right? Like, because, like, I feel like deep down people want to be good. I feel like there's an underlying, like, I am not trying to be a POS, right? Like, yeah. I do want, and maybe they just don't know, and that's where you can.
They're trying not to be a piece of shit, but then they end up being it without knowing that.
Well, yeah, just maybe that they're just like used to presenting information a certain way, right? And it's like, and it's less than desirable because they haven't asked people around them, or they haven't actually done any kind of research on it, right? Or you get the idea of what I'm driving at. Like, I like to think that maybe that person can seek it out, but it's also up to us to help with that person as well, right? It's not solely up to them, but some people, are so specific, and we let's be honest though, we need those individuals. Like, I don't want every professional I come across to know that they used to, do a ton of E or something. You know what I mean? Like, I want, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. we need people some people that are like that. Like, if you go to the doctor, right? And I
don't want to know they did a bender on the weekend.
But not only that, but if they come in and they can't take things seriously, or they're not paying attention, or like there's a shiny thing on the floor and they're looking at it, like, are you going to be really bought on what this person is about to present? I mean, at that point, I want to look me right in the eye and, like, don't mince it. Like, tell me exactly what's up, right? So, yeah. Again, we need those individuals. We really do. And I would venture to say they need us just as much, right? But,
yeah.
going back to what you were saying, right? When someone says, get like a real job and that type of thing, like, yeah, that does have like a certain kind of, it's not very nice, right? But like, I would venture to say that in certain instances, like in any kind of most economic downturn, I have never really been affected. Like I have not been in a situation. Now I have been in a different sales job, right? And I would consider that retail. So that was a different sales job I was doing where I was going to various accounts and so forth. And I remember when the big housing crisis happened, and I want to say that was 2008 through 2010, forgive me, but there were people literally coming in just asking for anything, trying to make payments on Land Rovers and stuff. And now that, again, that's not a dig. They had an amazing life and one that people would be envious of, right? But regrettably, there's some fragility there, right? And it was, and
Good
something,
word.
and right, like it just, something happened, and regrettably,
Maybe they shouldn't have been so overzealous.
or maybe there wasn't enough steaks in the freezer, or don't get me started on healthcare. Maybe they broke their leg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you never know, right? But there just wasn't enough to go around. Right now, obviously, people rebound and things happen and that type of thing. Like as far as the economy, but everyone just needed some help, right? And there wasn't enough. And like here I was, and I know I might not have been driving said Land Rover, but I do my thing and I truck along, so like I'm able to make it work for sure.
Yeah, I think people forget the strength that retail brings out of people, but like you mentioned before, like we want people to gain skills, and it's like you said, like it's up to us, like in that community or in that team, to help them. And you've helped me so much in my career that I always wanted to ask, like, what is your take on mentorship, and what does mentorship mean?
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that. I personally believe mentorship is incredibly important. I heard it put once, and this might have been on Reddit, you know how they have all their colorful little sayings, and it said something along the lines of like, if you reach the top, send the elevator back down. And
Ooh, I fucking love that.
and right, that it's so simple, but it's like, I wouldn't say you owe it to anyone, right?
Yeah.
But if you have that know-how and you just care about the person to the left or right of you, why not pass it on, right? Now, that doesn't mean you're knocking on doors trying to give this information away, making people listen, right? No, that person has a responsibility to kind of seek you out. And if you happen upon this person, and however the relationship develops, like that's a terrific thing, and it helps. It's mutually beneficial, and I'll explain.
Yeah.
That person at some point, the person who's the proposed mentor, might be trying to do something, right? Or they might be trying to work through something. And if you're able to explain what you do in a very simple way and kind of guide people along, and I've listened to previous podcasts where people even have other, not family members, but people in their like community, religious community, that are able to provide these kind of guidance as well. And that's just awesome. And it helps out the other person, the person who's looking for a mentor, because let's be honest, I don't know of one thing that's easy. I can't think of one thing that's easy. Like, seriously, tell me one thing that's easy. Like, figure out what you want to do. Typically most people that go into college after like at 18 through 20, very seldom do they graduate and do what they went to school for. And that's
100%.
Right? So when that does happen, or hopefully that doesn't, but if it does, it'd be nice to have someone who's like, hey, I've been there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is what you're looking at, right? Like, it's not a scrub and rebuild. It's just a pivot, if you will. Let's just try this, sharpen this. And also too, like, education is a continuing thing.
Yeah,
right? Like,
you never stop learning.
Thank you for saying, I'm so glad. Like, yeah, because anyone who's like, okay,
I'm done with my PhD. Nothing new is ever
right?
going to happen again.
And that's another thing. Doctors and so forth, they have a lot of continuing education for sure.
Yeah. But the one thing that, again, like, yeah, you may be very, like we were talking about off pod, like very knowledgeable and smart in certain things. But like sometimes people forget how to be a student. People forget that, like, okay, I used to know everything. now I'm getting frustrated that I don't know this specific thing, topic, sport, whatever, and they just get super bitter or super like not re-welcoming the learning process. And that in itself is a skill on its own, and just being okay with, acknowledging that you don't know something. Because once you're able to know that, understand that, I may not know everything, but I am willing to learn anything, I think more doors and more opportunities open, and like you get less self-conscious and you build that confidence to be like, okay, I don't know this, but I will know this.
That's perfect. Like, to take it one step further, who wants to know everything, right? If you did, nobody does, right? Like, nobody would want to be around you. Like, think about it. Like, oh, don't want to go over there.
He knows all the answers.
So and so, like, oh, right. And like, so you would even be dumbing yourself down just to be involved, right? So, but celebrate those differences, right? Like, I genuinely don't want to know everything. There's certain things that like I have an idea, and I know enough to maybe get myself in trouble. But like, again, I want people to know those types of things. Like, who wants to know everything? And education is continuing. If you're curious about something, definitely seek it out. And I remember growing up, like, information wasn't as easy to come by.
There's no Wikipedia.
No, I mean, I remember like literally having to go into the library, go through the card catalog, go find the book that genuinely wasn't up to date, and I'm doing
see if someone's rented it or not.
Or rented it. Yeah, it's not Blockbuster.
No, you rent books, right?
You check them out at the library. You're not
same B.
But the point is, you might be doing a report on a country that you're talking about their gross domestic product that's based off of 10 years prior, right?
That's current.
Right, and now you have AI that's practically getting people through Stanford, right? Like, so it's genuinely everywhere. And then like, what do you choose, right? Oh, don't get us started on that. What's real, right? But again, going back to the point, like,
is this all a simulation?
Oh, okay, dude. Matrix, right? But like I said, just going back and having to check out the books, not rent them, right? Like, and there's information everywhere.
Yeah.
And even most companies, some that I've read about, like, are even allowing you to get some very nice higher end education, right? And I know Bill Gates even put out, and I forget the name of it, I'm a little embarrassed, but I want to say, I know he was behind a certain learning as well. He put some money behind that. It's the Khan Academy, if I'm not something along the Khan Academy. It's the.
I'll put it in captions.
Yeah.
After I look it up.
Yeah.
If I remember. Yeah, I don't know what that's called. Khan Academy.
Yeah. Here, let's do it.
Yeah, let's use the power of Google's. Watch, I just get like a con artist academy. Oh, Khan Academy. KHAN.
Yes.
Got it. I'm all thinking of like being a con.
So the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations has donated $1.5 million to the Khan Academy. Yep.
That's nice.
That's what it says. So, but anyway, like I said, information is genuinely everywhere.
Yeah, and it's up to us or up to people, not just us, but up to people that decide to be mentors to help filter that information, right? Because like when you're a learner, you don't know where the right stem of information is correct or the best for the situation. So it comes down to someone who has that experience, right? Like you don't want someone that just got promoted with you. Like say if you and I got promoted or the same exact role, it wouldn't make sense that I would mentor you or you would mentor me. In theory.
Yeah, that's typically like there's usually a few years separation. There's usually like a few degrees in career separation, right? Like in that situation, that's just more of like you're helping each other out. Like you're help filling in the gaps.
Exactly. Because like there's stuff that you know, and there's stuff that I know, and then if we put it together, that's how we make Captain Planet.
That's just homies looking. That's what we do for each other, right? Like so we don't necessarily do that like as far as mentors, but like that would be like we discussed, like it'd be a little bit more separated. Yeah,
but it also kind of stems into you kind of mentioned this earlier, like being able to pivot, right? Being able to understand like this is a different step in a different direction, and the one thing I kind of just want to touch on, it's kind of like a small topic, but as we go on in like our careers and how many years we're doing something, sometimes we get stuck. We hit that rock in a hard place, or we're that immovable object coming against a force that cannot be stopped. And I want to let all of you guys know, and gals, everyone, there's no gender I'm specific towards, but I want you to realize that it's never too late to pivot. It's never too late to say, you know what, I think I'm done with this career or whatever, if you found a passion in somewhere else. Because one thing I want you guys to take away from this is I want you to be able to support the needs that you have, right? I want you to be able to support your family, support yourself. But I also don't want you to come home and say, God damn, thank God that's over. Because you're going to regret that in the long term. And mental health isn't as easy to repair as your financials. So just know that if there's something that you want to pursue and you're uneasy about it, one, do your research and be okay that it's okay to change. It's okay to pivot. Anyway, it's kind of like my bit on that. Anything that you wanted to add on like the concept of pivoting?
Well, sometimes it'll happen where it's like I'm thinking of, unfortunately, all those tech layoffs, right? Like, so it'll sometimes come at you in your email. Sometimes it'll come at you as you're exercising and you're like, you know what, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And it'll come to you in an inspiring way. But going back to what we were talking about earlier, like that's where, unfortunately, you can get so far along. It's like, yeah, I do want to pivot, right? But now, what is it that I want to do, right? What is going to give me the life that I'm looking for? What's going to, put steaks in the freezer? What's going to put the kids through school? All of those things. Like, so even to survive in various states, including this one, of course, it's a lot, right? So people end up doing very large commutes, and they end up, I was chatting with one guy, and where was I? I asked him, I said, so what do you do? He said, oh, I'm into programming. And I said, and like, that's not really like a passion of mine. Like, I think it's interesting. And I go, so what do you like about it? He goes, looked me dead in the eye and smiled. He goes, I don't like it all. I just like money.
That's a passion, I guess.
Like, and like, bless his heart. Like he owned it, but
Yeah.
like, and like, it's very idealistic to be like, we're all going to do our dream jobs, and we're all going to grow up to be firefighters and doctors or whatever it is. But that's just simply not the case. We end up making compromises as the older you get. Mm-hmm. And that's where it's like, okay, what is it that you really want?
Yeah. But it's kind of like stemmed into like in terms of like, I would say, at least from my understanding, there's like 3 types of people that go into work. So like there's people that are reaching for the stars. There's people that are doing it just to do it. And then there's people that are just there. That's just there, like the money's great, the work is whatever, they don't care about anything else. And I think that's okay.
Well, I would venture to say 2 and 3 are the same, right? Like it's just like you're coming in and you're doing it, or you're just not. Like it's like, there might be the in between, like, okay, it's, I just got back from lunch and I'm a little bit sleepy. Okay, you're not 100%, but like, are you there? Like, are you, if you're supposed to be there at, whatever o'clock and it's whatever 01 and you're strolling in, like, are you there, right? Like, and those types of things carry with you, right? Like people don't realize it, but that's like a habit, right? Like, and that can be a tough one to break.
Yeah, it's like mold,
right? Like,
if you don't get rid of it soon, it's gonna go everywhere. I don't know if that's how mold works.
Yeah.
I missed you, dude. Okay, so the last topic we're going to talk about, and you and I have for sure dealt with this, is the concept of burnout.
Oh.
And I feel that everybody always has their version of burnout. So one thing to get out of you while I have you on here is let me know about a time like when you were suffering from burnout, and how did you get out of that?
I've had to reinvent the same job a few different ways. Like, what am I trying to get out of it? Now, what does that mean? Like, so sometimes it'll be like, okay, and this time I'm just going to focus on like, how fast can I get it done, right? Okay, then you get it done and you're like really fast. Okay, so now I'm gonna try to do it, and now I'm gonna try to do it in another way, or now I'm gonna do it, and this time as I'm doing it, I'm also going to do a much better job of exploring every single benefit. How does everything work? And then you start focusing on other aspects of it, right? So it's no longer just the task, but it gives your mind something to think about on the back burner, right? Because that's ultimately what it comes down to. Are you being fulfilled? Is your brain working, right? Because if you start getting on autopilot and people start getting bored, that's where bad things happen.
Yeah.
So if you're able to say, okay, this is what I'm working on, and again, it's reinventing, maybe hopefully like bettering yourself, of course, right?
Hopefully.
Like, right? Like, I mean, and since we're chatting, right? Like I've seen some things recently where people may not get promoted, right? Like where you come in and you're doing great and you're on a team of X amount of people, and this isn't any particular job or industry. This is just, I chat with a lot of people, and it seems like if it doesn't go well, the very first thing they do is they just throw their hands up and it is what it is. The world's out to get me. I'm quitting. Okay. Now, that isn't necessarily the best approach, right? Because there's only a finite number of jobs, for one. Your resume is only going to look so if you have all these things that you're jumping around from. But it's just truly, it's not going to get any easier.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
yeah, the farther you go up.
Well, I mean, it's just the rejection. It's you can't handle the rejection, and you may be great, but someone else might be working on it, and like let people know. But the bottom line is like, don't do that. I don't know if you know the saying, but don't chop your nose off to spite your face. And what that
No, I have never heard that.
So if you think, okay, so I shouldn't have said it, but anyway, here we go. So if you feel that you are unattractive and you're like, I'm going to get back at my face because it's unattractive, do you think cutting off your nose is going to help?
No.
That's what we're talking about, okay. Right? You're doing something that is not going to help. Like it's like you're chopping your nose off to spite your face. Like it's not benefiting you to keep moving. Seek it out. Like if this is where you're supposed to be, don't take the rejection. Keep working for it.
Okay, but the other side to that is like, there's only so much you can control, right? And like it comes down to the feeling like, okay, cool. Like I have applied, say, for said position like 7 times, and I get passed. They tell me this is what I need to work on. Cool, work on that. Then I get passed again. Okay, something else has come up. Work on that. And then I feel like sometimes, like on your 5th or 6th try, it's just like, why try anymore? Because they'll always find something. And like, how do you balance that mental battle of not giving up and knowing maybe I should pause on applying for that promotion? Because I think that's where a lot of us, you and I can relate. A lot of us in our industry can feel, because yeah, we can chalk it up and understand like, okay, cool, that person is probably performing better than us. Cool. But if it's like I'm getting passed up by someone that I know and the team knows that I would outperform them, like getting that hit with that rejection it's tough to withstand. And like we can only take it so much. So like how do you what's the word I'm looking for? Compartmentalize that? Yeah, that's such a weird word. How do I do that with that feeling without like feeling that burnout and like wanting to, like what the trending topic is to, what's it called? Quite quit or rage apply?
So your question is...
It was very multi-layered.
Okay, so your question is...
I can clarify.
No, I'll read it back. So your question is, after applying multiple times and getting various
criticisms.
Yes, I like that. And after fulfilling those critiques, right, and it still doesn't go your way,
right,
and then like, how are you supposed to feel, right?
Yeah.
So for one, I would say I look at the environment around me. I would look at, is this in the vein of what I'm trying to do? And if the answer is yes, then I'd say you have to remove ego from the situation. I would love,
But ego's so good.
but here's the thing though, and I'm not gonna try to come up with all these statistics about Wayne Gretzky and all these and like Michael Jordan. But what I will say,
I know exactly what quote you're
no,
gonna
no,
say.
no, you're not. And like, and it's not the Wayne Gretzky where it's the you miss 100 shots that you don't take.
Oh, wow.
What it is all of these people that are successful have so many no's. They have so many things that we don't know about, right?
Yeah.
We've all seen that chart, or at least I hope that it's the iceberg, right? And it's like you see the top, and it's like this little tiny triangle, and it says success.
Yeah.
And it's this gigantic thing that almost sunk the Titanic underneath, where it's all the disappointments, the depression, the no's, and the years, and the whatever, right? So
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those. There's also the one where like there's the two pictures of people mining, and then this guy's going so far,
yep, and he stops.
and he stops, and like maybe like an inch later, it's a diamond vein.
Yeah.
Just gotta enjoy the ride.
So we've had the easy ones, right? And I would venture sometimes, like if it's something that's so easy, you don't respect it. Have you ever been like known somebody that like somebody gave him a car? In high school, I knew a guy that got a car given to him. He wrapped it around a tree,
Yeah,
right?
like it was nothing.
but it was nothing. He didn't respect it. It wasn't real, right? It was just something that was in the driveway. Now you go out there and you're making those payments. You might polish it up a little bit. That oil is going to be changed. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna,
I hope,
right?
because
Hopefully,
I forget to change my oil.
right. Well, I mean that you're a strange breed there, but like,
Thanks.
but if you're making
Someone's
those
gotta say
payments, you know, typically you're keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
So
I pick up what you're putting down. Like if it's something that that's yours, and you are like fully in control, you tend to have respect for it. And unfortunately, that's a thing that like, I forgot what I was doing. I think I was like scrolling on TikTok, and like there's this concept that, so you go to work on time, and then if your boss tells you, hey, whatever your job is, right? Say if it's like, take out the trash, take out the trash. And then if there's you're scheduled the next day, of course you're going to show up. But when you tell yourself, okay, Friday I'm going to hit the gym, Friday I'm going to start reading this book, Friday I'm going to start spending more time with my family. If you don't do it, it's whatever. It's the lack of respect that we have for ourselves to push and look for improvement or look for doing something that we committed to say that we're doing, because we tend to not respect ourselves as much compared to like a job. And
I see where you're going now.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a very hard reach, but
we put ourselves on the second, right? Like
Correct.
Correct. This is what I'm doing right now. If you're passionate about something, like, and if you have your own business, that just is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, as long as your health doesn't, you still want to take on the proper nutrition and get sleep, because that's all proven fact, right? One, they go hand in hand, right? If you're not taking care of yourself, like, you're just going to be in trouble. But you definitely put so much effort into it. So that's admirable, right? I can respect that for sure. But I mean, it's not for everybody though.
yeah. Sometimes seeking your dreams isn't.
Well, I mean, like, I certainly hope people have the.
What the fuck was that?
I don't know. So, I mean, if you, like I said, like, if you have a dream and you want to do it, I would encourage. Whatever it
Oh,
is.
it's the camera. No, whatever. No, whatever. We can finish this up without the video. As you were saying?
Yes. What was I saying?
If it's something you're passionate about,
Right.
yeah, that's all I got. The beeping threw me off so hard.
Yeah. So, yeah, but if you've got that passion, like it's gonna I don't want to say consume you, but it's definitely drive you, and you want to make sure that, you know, if you are pursuing something with that, like, make sure you're just taking care of yourself, exercise, all those types of things for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh yeah. Anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, I just want to thank you for asking me to come hang out with you today. I can honestly say it's a lot of fun. I've never done anything quite like this. I think you're a talented dude, and
Appreciate that.
I wish you absolutely the best. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know.
I got you. You make it sound like I'm not going to see you forever.
No, dude. Like I don't get to see you as much as I would like, and
Yeah,
like
when
I
we used to
don't.
work in the same store.
But now you have me on recording saying these things, and you can listen to it whenever you want,
It's like 3 o'clock in the morning.
dude.
Dude, I appreciate it.
Got Careless Whisper playing in the background.
I'll edit it so it plays in the background. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on the Average Employee Podcast. I'm your host, Al. That's my boy, Mr. B. And it's time to clock out. Catch you guys on the next one.
Good night.
Peace.